right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 89 of the Fuel Pod. I'm Jay. Tonight we've got Mikey with us, and we've got my son Jason sitting at the Oracle headquarters in Milton Keynes, but not really. So anyway, we didn't have a race this weekend, but we got some stories for you, and we've got the Australian preview coming up. I actually like Australia. I know a lot of people that don't. I don't know if Chatty's here tonight. We're going to be on here tonight, or send me an invite or whatever. Or shoot, I mean, I need to send him one. But we do have some topics to discuss tonight that before we move into the Australian preview, guys. So let's go ahead and get underway. Shouldn't be a long one tonight, but the first one I want to talk about, and I read pretty much the entire news sheet on Formula One this week on their website in anticipation of trying to put together a decent fantasy squad with no chips this week. But as you know, Laurent Mekies, who left, he left Ferrari last year and became the team principal at VCARB. So one of the things he was talking about was Yuki and how, it's not enough for Yuki to be where he's at and how he needs to. This is his fourth season. I feel like I've grown up with Yuki through Drive to Survive. But from all the shut up to it was a bad race today and I need to do better. But Mekies is right. It's his fourth season, and I think he needs to step to the plate and and I think he need, for anything else, for a selfish reason, to challenge Danny. Danny had a shit car last week, and that's unfortunate. So I'll hopefully see a better one this week, considering that. Okay, I'll get to that later. But what do you guys think about Yuki and where he's at and where he should be? And where do you think he can go? What do you think his max potential is? I realize that was like a 12-point question right there. So answer whichever.
That was a lot of questions.
Yeah, answer whichever part you would like and disregard the others.
I love Yuki. And I love watching him, as a driver. He's kind of he's done. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think he's a young people's driver? Like, do you think that the younger generation really grasps onto Yuki?
Absolutely. Especially if they watch Drive to Survive, because you watch him growing as a driver.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think he's been fighting for a Red Bull seat this entire time. Just he doesn't, say anything officially.
Yeah. Mikey, what do you think?
I'm a big Yuki supporter, and I think he can drive. I don't think he's ever. I think he needs a car. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think he's.
Well, that's the only car he's ever known.
Yeah. The Alpha car, yeah.
And have they ever? I just feel like it's scraps, and I don't think where he's at, he can't go any farther, because that's.
First off, that was really
10th, 11th.
But
10th, 11th is about where he's going to get out of that. Could he do better in a better ride? Absolutely. I think not a Red Bull. I think they're once again these statements here once again point to what I think they're looking for a way to excuse them of getting rid of them.
Yeah, and I think that's right, and I think that's what, just having watched Formula One for so many years, I really think that's what Mekies is saying. I think he's setting the stage in case he doesn't show improvement over his fourth season. This is the reason why. I think he's creating a narrative early.
It's something else on the list. Like when they swap drivers, for really no reason,
Yeah.
And got him pissed off. They can mark that down. Okay, he's not improving and insubordinate, and that gives them a reason to let him go. Now, I don't think he would be good at Red Bull, because I don't think.
No,
I think what sets him back is being Japanese.
Yeah.
All these high-profile teams that get all the interviews and everything are all in English.
Yeah.
And English is a very hard language for Japanese people.
It's a very hard language, period.
Because it's half ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think him not being able to speak English any better than he can.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against him, but I think that sets him back from getting one of the high profile,
Yeah,
positions.
and it's going to you're speaking of marketability and 600 irregular verbs aside, he does okay in English.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's sometimes they're harsh. I think if he's had an okay race, that his interviews obviously are a lot better. But you're talking about a guy that every other 2 or 3 words is yeah. So we tried to do good out there today. Yeah. And then, I talked to Danny earlier and he said maybe I could work on this. Yeah. Kind of thing. So, and he's not the only driver that does that. But I look forward to seeing what he can do the rest of this season and seeing how it goes. But, yeah. So, off the track and onto a entirely different track this week, Toto Wolff was filming for the 7th season of Drive to Survive in Imola, or at Imola, and he was driving a Mercedes-AMG GT3 car alongside his young phenom wannabe driver Antonelli. And Toto Wolff, I'm not going to say wrapped it around a telephone pole because that's not what happened, and he's totally fine, of course. But, he did have an accident. And then, I guess they said they could see him in the garage taking driving tips from Antonelli, who's like 9, maybe 10 years old. So that's entirely not true. I'm sure he's 17 or 18 or whatever he is. But he's Mercedes' answer to Oliver Bearman, who, by the way, dude, I mean, I love what the kid did in that race, setting in for signs, but and I think it's just because they didn't have anything else to talk about this week. Every single media outlet, every single team, you got Guenther Steiner saying, man, yeah, I'd sign him right now. I mean, I get it. He did well. So, yeah. Guenther Steiner has his own column now on the Formula One website.
Yeah.
So, I think it's called Wankers Are Us. No, that's not what it's called. But anyway, yeah, he's got his own column on there. So, yeah, just a little bit. I'm done with the Oliver Bearman, romance.
His time will come.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He had one race.
Let's just calm down a little bit.
Yes, he was a game day player for one race, but that's a big difference than 23 other races. So, and that brings me to Australia. So my first topic for Australia, obviously Carlos Sainz coming off of an illness, called in sick for a week, and he's getting back in that Ferrari after only racing it one time so far this year. He's obviously my favorite driver, or second favorite driver rather, but favorite team. And, I'm a little bit worried. I hope he does well. I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. I think it's a much ado about nothing situation. Again, he's another game day player, so I look forward to him doing well. What are your all's thoughts on Sainz returning to the paddock this week?
I think we'll figure out how he's going to do first practice.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
Good point. I mean, with his way, he's only raced him once this season. It's a different car, so I mean, yeah, there's probably no telling. All these other races have already raced. They've already raced twice in their cars, and they've done whatever they can for the third race. It'll be yeah.
Well, go ahead, Mikey. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know if about past last year, but wasn't there all kinds of wrecks and
that's last year's behind me right there, literally.
Okay, yeah.
So we had 78 red flags, 42 full course cautions, and we had only 12 drivers finish the race. The only stat that I just said that was actually accurate was that we only had 12 drivers finish the race. And I think that thing ended at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it was ridiculous.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see Sainz race, I don't want him to get caught up in all that and injure himself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, last year you see him right there with Alonso turned sideways, and I think that's Leclerc that's actually on him right there. And one of the Red Bulls, it looks like Sergio out in the
Which one wrecked in Vegas last year?
Sainz. Yeah, he hit the manhole cover in practice.
Yeah, and then used one too many motors in the car and got a penalty for it, which is stupid. Yeah.
I mean, he may be fine, and I don't know how it goes, but they cut a hole in his body, reached in and pulled part of it out.
Yeah.
I would need more than a couple of weeks to recover.
Well,
before I got into a race car.
He is a Formula One driver, so
yeah.
If he does, he gets my tougher than a $2 steak award.
Yeah, last year Lance Stroll had a Terminator T800 arm installed on his right one. They covered it with fake skin, and he was out driving at Bahrain. He still maintains that it's a real human arm, but I'm gonna dispute that at some point. But yeah, man, last year was a disaster. We had both Alpines in the points and wrecked each other out.
Yep.
Coming off of a red flag restart.
Yeah, last year was
trying to Josh Sherrill's memories here. It was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah. So anyway, that was crazy. So a couple of the other things, teams that I think need to show improvement this week, absolutely show improvement this week. No, I was going to say Aston Martin and Mercedes.
Oh, true.
And specifically for Aston Martin, Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll needs to show up to play.
Yeah.
Because just like last year, you can't win the constructors or get close to the top of the constructor board when you only have one driver on the team. So he needs to have a flawless, error-free top 5 or top 10 race finish, which he can do.
And Alonso's slowly figuring out that car, but he's cooking.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then Mercedes is just, I think they're just wrestling the car. I don't think it really has anything to do with their drivers. I really think Lewis Hamilton's lost a step. And I hate saying that considering he's going to Ferrari. Maybe I'm wrong. He just doesn't look like he has the same killer instinct that George does right now. And maybe it's just the car. Maybe he's just biding his time to get to the Scuderia and do his business. But, I really want to, like I said, I really want to see both Aston Martins up there this week. And, even though they're my Yankees, since I'm a Sox fan, I still would like to see Mercedes show up to compete and be competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you brought up that I would probably include McLaren on this list, and I don't think so. I think Lando needs a little bit of a gut check. I think Oscar is going to be right there. And let's not forget, this is one of the first times in Formula One that we have two drivers that this is their home race. Oscar Piastri in the McLaren and Daniel Ricciardo in the V-Carb.
Yep.
So what would be really cool, and it would be, one of those F1 fantasy dreams is Danny racing Piastri. And obviously not necessarily for the win. But
look at all that stuff behind you.
That'd be a crazy Drive to Survive episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'd be really cool to see Danny and Oscar mix it up a little bit on the track, even if it's for the fans that go full WWE mode and kind of script that event. But yeah, that'd be fun to watch. Danny always shows up for Australia, but he's had some really bad luck ones here too. The very first race in his Renault, back then Australia was the first race of the season. Mm-hmm. And he tried to go on the inside at the start finish because he got a great jump, and he drove that car, the right side of that car, over that inline curb there and tore his car all to pieces. I think the front wing went back up under his car. It was a mess, and he was done. And then he was running, I think, 5th in 2018 at Australia, and I'm pretty sure he lost horsepower. He lost power to he just wasn't, I think he either dropped a gear or he just wasn't getting enough power to the PU, and he couldn't get through. So, that's pretty much what I'm excited about. I got one more topic, but I was going to ask you guys, do you have anything you're looking at for Australia?
Yeah, my two that I'm looking for improvement is RB. I really expected more, right? Let's get it. And there's, like I said, Danny had a problem. I want to see him full strength.
I'm going to back your play on that one.
Mm-hmm. And I want to see how McLaren is dealing with their dragging the dang ground. If you hear their car, it's a plow.
Well, they have full control over that, so they're the ones doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
I saw that come up in my feed this week, man. Did you actually read about it? Because I didn't get a chance to. It came up in my feed, and I didn't click on it. Okay.
No, but you could see that it was costing them speed, especially with DRS. the DRS wasn't doing much for him.
Yeah.
And I want to see how they're progressing with that.
We say that, but even though I jumped on him last week for not committing, but Piastri had a strong week last week, P4 on the finish, which is excellent for McLaren. And that's going to pay dividends later on in the season, I'm sure. But Lando needs to lead that team. Not the biggest McLaren fan, but Lando's kind of won me over the past couple seasons, and I think he should be
little things, little mistakes that he makes and beats himself up over it. He'll make a little mistake, and he'll just kill himself over it, and it doesn't get past it. He doesn't make a little mistake and get past it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's true. A lot of that might just be being young, and I think too a lot of it has to do with whoa, what the hell happened there? Okay,
we're trying different angles. What we're doing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with I think he's got a lot of irons in the fire. It seems like he's got a lot going on extracurricularly. So he runs Quadrant, which is his esports team, and then on top of that, they have their own clothing line.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I think he's got some other personal investments that he's getting involved in off track. And when you're 24, 25, it's hard to balance all this. I mean, hell, it's hard to balance it when you're bucking 50. So being at 24, 25, I think it's mentally kind of a strain maybe. And then these race weekends are tough on these guys because they're pulling them every which way but loose, going to media, junkets and stuff like that. So, first world problems for those guys. I'm not going to feel sorry for them considering how much money they make. But still, I think maybe he just needs to centralize his focus. I don't know who his physio is. That's one thing, they always show the physio guys for each one of the drivers. You don't see Lando's. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, he's got a friend he hangs out with, and then every now and then it's a girlfriend and friend. I don't know how all that works, but still, you don't really ever see him with his physio. Like you used to not see Lewis Hamilton without Angela Collin. I don't know who the new one is, so I don't want to mention her simply because I don't know her name. But Danny always has his with him, and a lot of those guys that are a little bit more mature age-wise, not necessarily, social maturity, but a lot of those guys have their physio with them, and I think those guys help focus them because those guys are translating what the team principal needs to the driver in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just Lando and maybe Lando's physio doesn't want to be part of the show. Maybe that's part of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, last but not least, I want to talk about Ferrari, and I know it's everybody's big shocker for me, but let's face it, they are the closest to Red Bull speed, without a doubt.
And the only one last year.
And the only one. Wow, you're gonna do that every week. And the only one that won last week, or last year, was Carlos Sainz at Singapore. And it's important to note that last year, only Ferrari won a race other than Red Bull. So anyway, I want to bring it up because we're in Australia. Could possibly see some higher tire deg here as well. We talked about how Ferrari's managed to cure their problem in that regard. But anyway, it looks like my son is having some technical difficulties.
I absolutely am.
Yeah. So anyway,
here's the gunfight.
And I'm not saying I want to see. I would love to see Ferrari win Australia. That would be wonderful. But just to stay close, I don't want. Red Bull. I don't want Max Verstappen winning by 25 or 30 seconds. So hopefully that part just gets better. Your guys' thoughts, and then we'll close this thing out.
Same thing. I don't want to see Max win by 25, 30 seconds and Checo following, but I think it's probably what we will see. I think there's going to be some good racing. Hopefully not a whole melee like last year.
Yeah.
And we get to see some good racing throughout. I hope we don't have somebody blocking the road for everybody, and let's lets everybody race, not just half the field.
Well,
yeah, I'm excited.
Guys, I guess we should get to who do we think is going to be, who do we think, and I'm not writing it down into the Holy Scriptures or anything, but, who you got this weekend? Who's
Fernando
the F
Alonso
this weekend?
The F?
Oh, that's a new award we're handing out, the F for fuel.
Alonso.
Okay.
Alonso.
Mikey?
Alonso for the win?
Alonso for the win.
P3.
P3. Nah. I'm thinking
I'm not doing podiums. Who's your guy this weekend?
Oh, one Alonso. Guy. I'm absolutely putting Alonso as my my driver on fantasy this week.
Mikey?
I mean, you have to go with Max, right?
Oh,
but let's go sure. The wild card. I'll go Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, wild card, Oscar, and that's not a bad call on that wild card. That's really not
a bad call.
Who am I going with this week? Probably Valtteri Bottas. No, I'm just kidding. That's not even close to being right. I'm going to go Max to win.
This guy.
And I think it'll be Max, and I think Charles and Carlos will be there, and then Alonso in the hunt. But I think I'm gonna play a perfecta if we're doing horse track betting, and play a perfecta box with let's go perfecta key. I'm gonna key Max Verstappen and say Sainz, Leclerc, Alonso in any order after that.
And then Piastri.
Although you realize I'm totally discounting Checo Perez completely.
Yeah. Like, where's Checo?
Checo is in that sand trap right there where he is on that picture.
Absolutely.
On turn one, trying to go around the outside.
He's going to do it again.
And I think he's going to get put out there by his teammate.
You think?
And I don't think Red Bull. Yes, and I don't think Red Bull will give a shit.
I don't. Who put him out there last year?
Huh?
Who put him out there last year?
It was an Alpine. I think it was Ocon, probably.
It probably was Ocon.
So, Mikey, who you got kind of behind that? Mikey's completely stationary. He's frozen. He can't even hear a word I'm saying. There he is.
He's just like Drax.
Hold on.
No, I'm trying to put things in order. I don't know. So you're saying Max, Checo, they'll start 1-2.
I'm totally frozen right now.
Race each other.
Yeah.
Checo goes into the deal.
Checo's in the sand trap with his wedges.
Max. So Checo's out.
Yeah.
It's 56 degrees.
Max, Leclerc, Piastri, Alonso.
Okay. I like where
Max,
you're at. Hang on. But yeah.
Hang on. Max, Piastri, Leclerc, Alonso.
Oh. Just cut me to the quicker on that one.
My realistic order, Max.
Here we go. We're going to go around the horn like 15 times right now. By the time it's over, it's going to be, by the time we're done tonight, it's going to be, I've got Bottas, Joe Guan Yu, Sargent, and Nick DeVries from the bleachers in a golf cart.
In an Indy car. I've got Max.
So last time it wasn't realistic.
Well, I hope Alonso wins, but there's no chance at Australia. There's no way. I think Perez is going to DNF or probably get put back out and then retaken out of the race. I think it's going to be Max, Leclerc, Alonso, Piastri.
All right, I'm going with Colonel Mustard with the lead pipe in the observatory. Anyway, guys, thank you. A little short one tonight since we don't have a race. I'm kind of moving forward. I hope on these non-race episodes we can cut them a little short. And I don't want to just go for the sake of going. But thank you all very much for tonight, folks. If you get to watch this, just let us know what you think. Hit me up on at JNeil at 720 or at JNeil 729 on X. You can see Diddy there is at 2Diddy4, and then JP Freak 625, and let us know what you think about what we said tonight. You guys have a great week. Enjoy your weekend, and watch some racing.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Be safe.